Can you tell us your name and where you were born?
My name is Matthew Presley, and I was born in Waynesville, North Carolina in 1969.
Did you grow up in the Waynesville area?
I grew up in Canton, which is 10 miles or so away.
Can you tell us a little bit about your family? Would you have a lot of siblings?
I was an only child. I had no siblings. I had cousins and a few friends that lived close by, and we played and had a good time.
Did you always live in the same house?
I lived in the same house until I was about 18, and Dad sold the house and we moved across town to a house that we rented for about a year, and then he found the house in which he still lives in now, and we moved there, and I lived there for several years until I moved here to Murphy.
So you said that you lived near some of your cousins and family. Did you live near your grandparents?
Yeah, I lived fairly close to my grandmother on my dad's side, about a mile away. My other grandmother was a little bit further, but they were both pretty close.
Did you spend a lot of time with them when you were little?
Yeah, some. I stayed mostly with my mother's mother, Bonnie. She worked at the local YMCA, so I was there a lot swimming and playing ball and stuff, so I stayed with her quite a bit.
What did you do as a child? Did you play games? What was your favorite thing for entertainment?
Mostly all I wanted to do was hunt and fish, and that's mostly what I did. I hunted rabbits and squirrels, and then when I was old enough to deer hunt, I started deer hunting, and that took up most all my time. I didn't play ball or play sports because baseball got in the way of fishing and football got in the way of deer hunting, so I wasn't interested in those things.
Who was your largest influence when it come to hunting and fishing?
I guess that'd be my dad. He deer hunted since as far back as I can remember, and he still does. I wanted to be like him when I was young, so I naturally just fell into the deer hunting just like he did.
Mm-hmm. And he took you along when you were young and taught you?
Yeah, he took me, I don't know, I was 8, 9 years old probably, and I wasn't carrying a gun yet, but he would take me with him, and I'd sit with him while he hunted, and to keep me quiet, he would always take a piece of rope or a piece of string and teach me how to tie knots to keep me occupied, so I would kind of stay quiet while he watched for deer.
So when you deer hunt and fish with your dad, did y'all ever camp, or was it mostly just day trips, or how did you do it?
In the spring and summer, we camped a whole lot and trout fished about every weekend. We dug ramps on some of those trips. And then when I got just a little bit older, we bought horses, and then we camped on horseback a whole lot, and I trout fished every chance I got then also.
So you told me stories about when you camp and horse ride in Cataloochee. A lot of people who are familiar with southern Appalachia, they're also familiar with the man in Cataloochee that people used to see. He was kind of like a ghost. People thought that he wasn't real. Some people thought he was real. He really was real. Right. He was a real man. Right. He was just, he liked to stay by himself, but that was kind of where he grew up, and that was where he liked to roam around. But did you ever see him?
Yeah, I did see him. I was in the creek fishing and had been in the creek most of the day, and I was about to get out, and I looked upstream to try to find a place to get out of the creek, and he was standing in the middle of the water, and probably up to his thighs. And it kind of scared me because he was, sort of unkempt and had a big beard, and he was just looking at me. And I probably saw him for about a minute, and he never spoke, and I never spoke because I was a little scared. And then he made his way on across the creek and just kind of disappeared in the laurels, and I could hear him kind of climbing up the side of the mountain and out of sight, and he was gone.
Later on, we were lucky enough to meet, of course, later on from that, because I didn't know you then, but later we got to meet some of his family,
Right.
and they were really nice, and we found out what a really nice man he was. He
Right.
just preferred to stay to himself. So when you were a child, along with all the hunting and the fishing, did you have responsibilities at home? Was there things you were responsible for taking care of?
Yeah, of course I had to feed the horses, keep them fed. Pretty much done a lot of my own cooking. My dad worked 2 shifts most of the time, and of course he did a lot of cooking too, but if he weren't there, I learned how to cook at an early age, and I washed dishes and washed my own clothes and that sort of thing, just normal stuff.
So did you like school?
No, I did not.
So you were always happy when summer vacation come around?
Right, I liked vacation because I got to spend it doing what I wanted to do, and I was, for the most part, alone. Dad worked, and I was at home in the summer all day. I had all my days to myself, and I could do pretty much what I wanted, and I really enjoyed that.
So was there, in the summer, was there different things you did in the summer than you would have done in the winter?
Well, yeah, I didn't hunt any in the summer much. Wasn't anything to hunt, any season's open, but I would still be out roaming the fields and the woods and the creeks, just to be outside and to be close to the outdoors. That's what I've always liked.
What about in the winter? I guess that was hunting season, so you were...
Yeah, in the winter I would hunt anything I could hunt. If we weren't off on a deer hunting trip, if we were home, I would be squirrel hunting or rabbit hunting, and back then there were still quail around here, and I would wander around the fields trying to jump a covey of quail to shoot and eat some of.
Did your family have traditions that they, like anything that comes to mind for Christmas or Thanksgiving or birthdays or anything like that?
My grandpa had a tradition at Christmas or Christmas Eve where he always cooked a pot of oyster stew and ate it, and I never knew why. But when I was grown and had my own family, I kind of took that on and still do it to this day. We all look forward to a pot of oyster stew on Christmas Eve. It's really good.
When you were growing up, what sort of world events that impacted you that you remember? Anything?
I remember being in school, in grade school, when President Reagan was shot, and the teachers came into the classroom and told us about that. I remember that pretty vividly.
How old were you when you learned how to drive?
I was probably 8 or 9 years old. Dad had an old Willis Jeep, and he would let me drive it some with him in it with me, but with him gone quite a bit at work, I would sneak off in it and drive down through the fields and up in the woods, and there was a few times when I drove it all the way to town, and wonder I didn't kill somebody or at least get caught by the police, but I didn't.
What was the first job you ever had?
The first job I can remember, I was 17 or 18 years old, I think. I had a job as a block mason's helper, and it was pretty hard work. I was too small to be doing that kind of work, but I did it anyway because it was a job, and it was what I thought was pretty good pay at the time. Looking back, it wasn't, but it was a job.
So working with your hands, that's something that you ended up doing the rest of your life, basically.
Yeah, I worked, I'm now a maintenance guy for the county here where we live, and I've always worked with my hands. I've always tinkered with anything I had that needed fixing. I always thought if I could fix it myself, I would, instead of paying somebody or relying on somebody else to do it.
Is that a skill you think's common today in Appalachia?
Absolutely not. I mean, I don't think any of the young people have it now. I mean, there might be still, a few people my age or older that grew up and was born and raised here that have it, but it's something that's quickly dying out.
So what's some of your favorite things to do today?
I still like to hunt and fish, and I like to garden, and love to can and put up food.
You speaking of a garden, did you grow up like gardening and putting up food?
No, not really. My dad did some when I was really young, but I don't remember helping in it that much. We had a garden when I was in my very early 20s for 1 or 2 years, and I mostly worked in it myself, and then didn't have one for a little while until I was married, and then after I got married, we've had one every year since.
But Papa Tony, your dad, he did put up food.
Yeah, he did put up food. When he was young, he had to work in the garden, and they had livestock, and he had no choice but to do that stuff. And as he got older and didn't have to, he didn't want to anymore. So I didn't do it as much when I was young, but now that I'm older and I see the importance of growing and eating your own food, and the self-reliance of it all, I really enjoy doing it.
What's some of the happiest moments in life when you look back over your life?
Of course, my children, having kids and having a family. That's probably my very favorite one.
How's things changed from when you were a child till today?
Oh gosh, everything's changed. I think things are much more, regulated and controlled, and the freedom that I had as a child to come and go, and it's kind of a different time, and I just think that's lost, and it's probably lost forever. It's just not the same.
When you think about the word Appalachia, since you've lived in Appalachia your whole life, but what does that word Appalachia, when you think of it, what does it bring to your mind?
I would say probably resilience. People that are born and raised here are resilient people, and they're self-reliant people, and I think that's, in my mind, that sums it up the best way.
When it comes to celebrating Appalachia, that Appalachian culture and the region as a whole, what do you think's worth celebrating?
I think pretty much all of it. The music and the food, the self-reliance, the strong family ties that seem to have always been here and still are. I think all of it should be held on to and celebrated as much as possible.